We live in a liberal society,
where we're all more open about our sexualities.
but for lots of people, it can still be very difficult to live their true sexual identity.
I'm Elliot and an out gay man.
I'm Lucy and I'm a straight woman.
And we're on a journey to find out about gay conversion therapy.
The practice that aims to rid a gay person of homosexual feelings.
And essentially make them straight.
We believe that homosexuality is a symptom of early childhood trauma.
I believe that people are not born gay.
Gay conversion therapy is an unregulated practice in the UK.
They suggested that if I went through a strict program of fasting and prayer, that I could be straight.
And can leave many people damaged.
All the evidence shows that these therapies don't actually work.
I personally would be very happy if conversion therapy was banned.
We want to find out why this is still happening.
And why for some, it's not okay to be gay.
Have you had people before in a similar situation to me that have gone on deliverance? Is that quite common?
Yes.
And what are they? Are they married now? That's what I want to my girl.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And they are having children. They just realize that this is deceit of Satan. We have a special program called Deliverance that's going to take place in September.
Okay.
For 3 days. You will not eat. Can you do that?
I think I could manage it if you think it would help.
Hi. Yeah, good, thanks. Thank you so much for doing this.
In 2017, Josh Parry from the Liverpool Echo went undercover, posing as someone who wanted to change their sexual orientation.
His experience gained national attention, which raised awareness of the practice and prompted calls for change. Could you just tell us about specifically the therapy that you underwent undercover and what conversion therapy is?
Okay, the type of conversion therapy that I underwent was a form of prayer therapy. And that was where I went to a church called the Mountain of Fire and Miracles Ministries. And they suggested that if I went through a strict program of fasting, so they said I shouldn't have food or water for 3 days, and prayer, that I could marry a woman, have children, and would essentially be straight. That specific form of therapy is known as prayer therapy, but obviously they don't always advertise quite what they're doing. So quite often it's called deliverance, or they call it reparative therapy is another term that is used.
How do you feel about the fact that it's not banned in somewhere like the UK? I mean,
And yet they've banned FGM, and they haven't banned something like this.
I think there is a belief that it doesn't go on very often, which I disagree with. I think it goes on much more often than you would say. But to be somebody who's, very proud to be from the UK, I find it mind-boggling that it is still legal here. I think it is simply homophobia disguised as religious freedom.
Despite this still being legal, NHS England, along with several mental health organisations, have signed an agreement which states that conversion therapy is unethical and potentially very harmful.
With this in mind, I went to speak to Dr. Ranj Singh, a television doctor working in the NHS and an openly gay man.
So there's not really one single definition of conversion therapy. It is a host of different, I'm going to call them treatments, let's say in inverted commas. They are practices that are designed to change someone's sexuality. And these can be psychological practices, or they could be physical treatments as well. And sometimes they're a mix of both. There is no one approved therapy because, professionally speaking, the evidence says that they are not effective and potentially they could be seriously harmful. All the evidence shows that these therapies don't actually work. You cannot change your sexuality. Your sexuality is very much inherently a part of who you are. And the work should be focused on you accepting whoever it is you are, rather than trying to change it. Now, I can understand why people feel like they may have to change it. And some of them that undergo these therapies may feel some sort of temporary benefit because they feel as if they are succeeding in doing whatever it is they're trying to change. But the problem is when you look long term, a lot of people finally realise that it actually hasn't made a difference to them and it could have potentially damaged them.
I wanted to know why Ranj thought this therapy was still happening today, despite society being more accepting about different sexualities, and whether there was a cultural or religious pressure fueling this desire to be straight.
So the acceptance of LGBT plus people is growing every day. Personally, I believe that diversity is the best thing about life. Now the problem is there are still places around the world where it is illegal to be gay. There are still places around the world where you will be persecuted and possibly physically harmed, imprisoned for just being who you are. And it's reasons like that why this belief that people need to be a certain way exists.
While Elliot was meeting with Dr. Ranj, I went to Manchester to visit Dr. Louise Theodosio from the Royal College of Psychiatrists. I wanted to know what their research has shown on sexuality, conversion therapy and its impacts.
People choosing to seek intimate relationships is as much a human drive as seeking food and drink. And somebody being prevented from seeking relationships and having aversion therapy, having shock treatment, having other things done to them which impact on their liberty and their dignity is likely to cause post-traumatic stress disorder. What's also likely to happen to somebody who's experiencing sort of very distressing treatment in that way is it's going to impact on their self-esteem. What we know is that anything that impacts on your self-esteem makes it much more likely that you would, for example, experience depression and anxiety. The college has got a very clear position that we do not want to be in any way advocating that people's sexual identity is changed. I can't see how the therapy would be successful, even if I didn't think it was unethical and didn't think it should be happening. I can't quite see the scientific basis for it working because it's a part of your identity, like any other part, and it shouldn't be changed through aversion therapy. But I don't quite see how aversion therapy would be able to change it, even if it was something that we were advocating, which we're completely not.
Dr. Theodosio confirmed what the overwhelming majority of medical organisations say about these therapies. I left Manchester and went to London to see Richie Thompson at Humanists UK. Like the Royal College of Psychiatrists, they want conversion therapy made illegal.
At best, it fails to achieve what it sets out to achieve. There's no evidence that such therapy, so to speak, can work. But at worst, what it can do is it can suppress their feelings, and that can lead to depression. It can lead to all the consequences that come with depression, and that can be really harmful.
What came next in our conversation really shocked me. Richie told me about the prevalence of conversion therapy in religious schools in this country, making me think that this could be a much bigger problem than both Elliot and I originally thought.
We came across an example last year of a private school that had a church attached to it that was offering exorcism for pupils that the school believed were gay. A journalist we were working with at the time mystery shopped that school by basically ringing them up and saying, I'm thinking about sending my son to this school. Oh, and incidentally, he's having these feelings. And the school said, oh, that's fine. We can just take him to the church and he'll have an exorcism while he's here. And obviously that's really serious and concerning. And we put Ofsted onto that school. And I believe they've now gone and inspected it again. It's certainly a wide problem in schools that schools have not been doing enough to proactively address homophobic, biphobic and transphobic bullying, and to make sure their relationships and sex education is fully LGBT inclusive.
I was saddened to hear that these therapies are happening in some of our schools, despite the consensus that they are extremely damaging.
I felt it was time to meet somebody who claims therapy has helped them to change their sexual preference from being gay to straight.
I believe that people are not born gay, that they come into homosexual feelings.
Mike Davidson founded an organisation called Core Issues Trust. On their website, they say they support those seeking to change homosexual behaviour and feelings. I started asking him why he set up the organisation and what his personal experience was.
I was a man married, in conflict, looking for help.
Sorry, is that the sort of term you use, the in conflict?
Well, I was in conflict with sexual inclinations in my life that I couldn't accept. that I didn't understand, and I needed help in processing that. I knew that I wanted to retain my marriage, that I wanted to be a father in the best possible sense to my children. And fortunately there were some around me, not all, professional people who took that seriously and were willing to work with me.
I listened to the Good Morning Britain interview you did with Piers Morgan, and you said you have triggers. Do you accept that maybe if you still have triggers that actually it isn't really complete conversion? Change. It's still those sort of thoughts that you had when you were going through puberty are still there.
Well, I think...
Do you call it I don't know what...
change. We would talk about change. But I think the issue is how you interpret and you understand change. So a person who has issues with depression and goes to the doctor and goes through a course of treatment and has medication and then ceases to be depressed. But there are days when there are dark clouds or there is a sense of depression. Now, what would we say? Would we say no change has taken place because there is some vestige or there is some feeling arising in that direction? No, I don't think we would say that. We would say that by and large this person is going in a healthier direction.
Mike just compared the journey of conversion therapy with dealing with depression. The implication that being gay is an illness is personally deeply offensive. It's not the first time Mike has made deeply offensive comments. Boris Johnson, then Mayor of London, banned adverts that Mike and his allies planned to put on the side of buses saying, "Not gay, ex-gay, post-gay and proud. Get over it." I'm interested to hear how deep Mike's therapy goes in eradicating homosexuality from a person, given that medical experts have told us it's not possible to change your sexuality.
What we offer doesn't change the memory, it doesn't eradicate a history, it provides new opportunities and empowers people to make new decisions. So when I speak about triggering, I'm not talking about, a bad week where I'm going out the door and being triggered by the people I meet or see. That has changed. That doesn't happen. But I think there is an emotional issue that does remember, that does, is part of a history that I once had.
I wasn't convinced that Mike doesn't get triggered by men, and felt sad that he remembers the emotional attachments he had before he changed. Before I left, he gave me a copy of his new movie, Voices of the Silenced, a film that challenges the born gay theory. Mike sells this film to spread his organisation's message.
We've spoken to medical experts. They are convinced the therapies don't work and are dangerous to someone's well-being.
For some people it's really traumatic and it is really abusive, and that's what I'm going to call it. It is a form of abuse, and I don't think we should take it lightly.
I cannot see a scientific basis for conversion therapy.
Often people who regard themselves at some period of their lives as ex-gay will later have a catastrophic incident where they realise that actually they've been living a lie.
The therapy is still legal in the UK, despite petitions urging the government to make a change.
What is evident from our journey is that there are more organisations condemning the practice than supporting it.
And we've discovered that these therapies are often seen as homophobic and unethical.
What's clear now is that the government have never been under more pressure to respond.
And it's hard to see how these therapies won't be stamped out when generations today are saying it's okay to be gay.
Future's something we can barely see. Something missing in the way we feel, and I have noticed in myself that I can't let it go. Wanna make a difference and believe in what we're gonna show. Gotta understand how things could be this way. You make a difference in a different way, and I've been